Welcome to From a Woman to a Leader, a podcast dedicated to discussing the challenges and providing tips for women in tech leadership. Hi, I'm your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and in each episode, we'll hear from other successful women in tech, sharing their stories, insights, and advice. Join us as we empower each other to reach our full potential in the tech industry. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader. And I'm super excited to have with me today Sejal Lakhani-Bhatt. And we're going to talk about becoming the entrepreneur of your life. And Sejal is the CEO of not one, but two companies, TechWerxe and CloudWerxe. And she's also known by the as the Cybersecurity Chick. With over a decade of experience in tech industry, Sejal has not only shattered the glass ceiling, but has become an influential leader in the world of IT and cybersecurity. So welcome, Sejal. Thank you so much for being here today.
Limor, it is my absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
My pleasure. And let's start by maybe, Sejal, if you are willing to share about your journey from the financial sector to becoming the CEO of TechWerxe and CloudWerxe. What inspired your transition into the tech industry?
Wow. Well, there's lots of things that inspire people to get out of the financial industry, Limor. But so I started out my journey in the financial world. I worked at multiple global banks. I've lived across the world, and I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. Then I had a family, and as I'm climbing this corporate ladder, I have one son, I get married, I have a son, I have another son, and I'm sitting there going, well, I'm traveling, 1 to 2 weeks out of the month. And I'm going, what am I doing? So in typical fashion, I decided I was going to quit my job without telling my husband, completely just decided, you know what, I'm done, left that day, called him as I was on my way home and said, hey, by the way, I quit my job. And he goes, which job? I don't understand. That makes no sense. But I decided I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to take a couple months and just, I thought it was going to be permanent. I wanted to just hang out at yoga classes and did all the things that I wanted to do, right? Started tennis, doing all these things. In 3 months, Limor, I thought I was going to go crazy. So my husband had started this company called TechWerxe. And he started it in 2008, when all businesses were booming. No, it was like the worst time, I think, to start a business. Yeah. But he started a business in 2008. And when I started, just sort of staying at home, he's like, babe, why don't you work with me a little bit? Do a little project management, do a little this. So I started working with him in about 2013. By 2015, I had taken over as CEO and I ran operations, sales, and marketing. And he ran everything tech and financial. And we together, it definitely wasn't all unicorns and rainbows, but we created an amazing company. We had taken it from just a tiny little thing to over $5 million in revenue. We built a really good company in about 4 years. And I loved it. I loved working the operation. I loved working the sales. I absolutely adored going to all of these things. I did realize that I was one of very few women that truly worked in the business. And I truly did run our business. I signed the contracts. I did all the sales. I looked at vendors. I looked at negotiations. I was the face of the company, as well as the meaning behind the company. While my husband, who was absolutely incredibly smart, could make anything I sold happen. I could sell the moon and the stars and he'd be like, all right, I can get it done. So it was just a great business partnership, on top of everything else we had. In 2019, my husband passed away unexpectedly. And I had a couple options. I had the option of keeping the company and I had the option of going back into the banking industry. And I chose to continue on with the company and went on to restabilize, rebuild, redo every vendor contract, renegotiate everything, and basically build an entire brand and company because our whole brand was me and him. And now it was just me. And we logoed it, redid everything really. And we still have an amazing company, and we're the number one cybersecurity company in the nation, in New Jersey, and we're the top 100 in the nation. And we've done a lot of work to keep the company going, and I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, wow, your story is so inspiring, and I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your husband, and he was your husband and your business partner. You did everything together. So how did you overcome that and kind of took over everything by yourself while still, running a family?
Yeah. So, I think by myself is very false. I have an incredible network of people. I have superheroes in every shape and form. I don't think doing this by yourself is ever going to happen. Yes, I had the support of my family. I also had the support of my in-laws. And I had the support of just countless numbers of friends in different variations, right? I had friends who would call me up and say, hey, your older one, like your son has a test tomorrow. I'm just going to take him home from school and help him study while I help mine study. Thank you. That's a huge, thing off my plate. While I had others that were like, your filters need to be changed and your light bulbs need to be changed. I'm going to come over and do that. And I had others that were like, hey, you lost your main technology person. I actually had 2 friends who hired my current right-hand man. I didn't interview him or hire him. I needed somebody. They recognized it. I wasn't sure I was there yet. They went and found, hired, figured out the compensation, negotiated, and set up the contract with him. So I had a team of superheroes. I have amazing people around me. I have an incredible network. And, my focus was on my kids. But to have the lifestyle that I wanted, to continue going to the games that my kids were playing on, to continue staying home with them when I needed to maintain this lifestyle. And to maintain this lifestyle, I needed TechWerxe to make sure that we were, successful and continue to be successful.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I mean, definitely you need your support. You need your community. It seems like you built yourself a great community of supporters.
I did. I really did.
So I wanted to ask you, what unique strength, I mean, as a woman leader, in a very male dominant field, what do you think are unique strengths that women bring to tech leadership, and how can they leverage those strengths for success?
Okay. So for me, that's a double-sided question. So I don't feel that women can't bring strength to it. I never felt like there was anything different. I think your strengths come from who you are as a person, whether you're male or female, older, younger, doesn't matter anything else. In my mind, I think what's really important is that we as women have to realize that there aren't things we can't do. We can do everything until we tell someone, oh, by the way, you can also do this. Right? When you walk into the second grade classroom and you say, hey, girls, you can also do STEM. They're like, we didn't know we couldn't do STEM. Like, who said we couldn't do STEM? Right? So I think it's important for women to sort of be who they are. And I know the environment sometimes doesn't lend to it. I know that there are different words for women versus men based on how we behave. But I think if you're confident, if you know your stuff, if you use your ears more than your mouth, if you are really relying on your network, and by the way, women speak, right? There's so many times we sit in boardrooms, and I've done it. We sit in boardrooms and we sit in meetings and everybody else is talking and we're listening. And we know the answer to every single question that just popped up and we don't say anything. And we should. There's no reason to sit there quiet. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay not to know everything. And it's okay to say, hey, I also need your help. But it's okay to also, when you're talking and someone interrupts you, say, thank you, I'm not done yet, as soon as I'm done, and continue your conversation. And I think women have so many strengths just because we're women that we should look at all of those things that others sometimes point out as weaknesses and say, well, these are actually strengths, and use them towards our strengths, right? Being emotional is an amazing, amazing strength. Listening with your heart and sometimes looking at things that way is an amazing strength. Asking for help, an amazing strength, right? These are all things that can get us a lot further.
Absolutely. And asking for help is definitely a big one that I've seen many men struggle with, right? Because of a lot of times ego getting in the way.
Yep, absolutely. And, I'm not saying that women don't have ego. I think women have ego, but we're okay to when we're wrong. We're okay to say sorry. We're okay to say, well, we don't know. We're okay to ask for all those things. And men usually don't. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your advocacy for encouraging young girls to explore STEM fields.
Okay. So I do a lot of speaking. I speak for Girl Scouts. I speak for Brownies. I speak for girl-led organizations for women. And here's what I tell them. I say we're strong. We can do anything we want to. There's nobody in this world that says we can't do it. The only person that can stop you from doing something is you. That is the only person. We're quick to say sorry. I tell girls all the time, take the word out of your vocabulary. You don't need to, sorry, can I interrupt you? Sorry, I just need, take the word just out of your vocabulary. We have to be stronger. We have to be more assertive. We have to really take charge, and it's okay to take charge, and it's okay to be assertive. And as long as we're going to make mistakes, I've had spectacular failures, epic failures, and that's okay. As long as you're failing forward, don't be scared to fail. Be scared to not get up after you fail. Be scared to giving up. Don't be scared to fail. And we have to teach, I think we innately teach our boys to take risks, to be aggressive. And we innately teach our girls to not do the same. And I think we need to change that entire landscape. So I'm a huge proponent of working with women, working with girls. I really do a lot in that space, from young girls all the way to, people graduating college, women that have graduated college, to mothers who, took some time off from working. And I do speak a lot in that space. And I think the biggest question I always get is, well, it's so hard. The guys don't involve me. They don't tell me when they're going out. So many decisions are made here. And my response always, and they hate it, is, did you ask? Did you ask? Did you ask to go out with them? Did you ask to be included? Did you say to them, hey, guys, I heard you had an amazing time last night at the bar. Next one, I'm in. Please let me know. Did you ask? Because the problem is that we can't change what's going on in the environment around us. And there are definite things that may make a male uncomfortable asking a female to go out to a bar, or vice versa, or whatever the case is. So ask, put it out there. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're not going to get invited. Guess where you were before? You weren't invited anyway. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to stay exactly the same. But the best that's going to happen is you get invited, right? So always ask. Ask for the raise. Ask to be invited. Ask for the promotion. Ask. You don't get what you don't ask for.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. What if you don't feel comfortable going to a bar? I mean, there could be situations where, I don't know, maybe that's just not who you are. Maybe you prefer to stay away from alcohol and you just don't feel comfortable in those, like a sport bar with all men shouting, I don't know, watching football or whatever.
Yeah. So I have an answer to this, and you're not going to like it.
Okay. Try me.
I grew up, all my businesses, every business and every environment I've worked in has been male dominated. I grew up in very male oriented businesses, and I am Indian female, and Indians in general are a little bit shyer. And that's never been me. My parents have always pushed me to be, all out there. And here's what I would say. For every job, there are prerequisites. There are things that we need to do. I'm not saying going to a bar and drinking is what we need to do, but sometimes there are meetings at places we don't like. There are vegetarians that go to steakhouses. Doesn't mean they eat steak, right? But they're there, right? So there's certain things that you might have to do. And if you don't want to do them, then you just have to deal with those consequences and say, okay, that's not what I'm going to do, and try something else. I was on a panel. I'll tell you something, Leroy. I was on a panel with for a bunch of women. The group was, oh goodness, now it's leaving me. It totally left me. But the group was all about supporting women and sort of looking to help and raise women in very male-oriented fields. And I was on a panel, and with me on the panel was somebody in HR and a corporate thing. And she said, listen, and she said the same thing you did. She said, listen, if you're not comfortable going to a bar, ask them to go to something else. Maybe say, let's go here, let's go there. Here's the truth of the matter. Some of these people are going where they want to go. You can't influence what they're going to do. You can only figure out how you're going to act with it, right? You can only control yourself. So she's like, well, then don't do that. Maybe get a couple people and go somewhere else instead. Well, that's all good and dandy. But what if nobody wants to go somewhere else? What if the plan was to go to a sports bar and everyone's going to talk and hang out? And yes, deals get done. Then you have to make a decision. Is that part of your job requirement? Is that something you're going to learn to do to help you succeed in this job? Just like some jobs may require you to be bilingual. Some jobs may require you to have Excel, knowledge. Some jobs may require you to do presentations. This may be a job in which you might need to do that. And are you okay with that? And if you're not, then you take that feedback and you say, I'm just not. And whatever I miss out from that, I miss out. And if you are, then you go. Doesn't mean you need to drink. Very clearly, I don't want to drink. I'm going to come hang out. And many people do that. If you're uncomfortable sitting there without a drink because people are going to look at you, grab seltzer water and a lime, right? I think it really depends on what you're looking to do. I was the type of person, I was on the trading floor and I did want to hang out with the guys because I knew that's where all the decisions got made. I was probably one of 2 women on the trading floor. I didn't really have a whole circle of women. Well, I went out with the guys. And if I was uncomfortable, I was very clear that I wasn't comfortable, and I was clear in a nice way. And I said, look, this is what I'm comfortable doing. And then if it came down to that and I didn't want to go, I wouldn't go hang out with that person anymore. You don't have to like everyone. You just have to respect everyone. You don't have to agree with anyone. You just have to respect everyone. So it's just a matter of having those conversations and being clear and be confident. But that is my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I can share I've done a lot of things I didn't want to just because I wanted to kind of fit in and didn't want to miss opportunities. But sometimes it's very uncomfortable and we have to pay the price.
Yeah. Yeah. And, times have shifted a little. I don't think it's so much like that as much as, I was on the floor in, 2001, 2002. Times were very different back then. But each job has, when I started to work with my husband at TechWerxe, I didn't have a network. I didn't have anyone really to sell to or to talk to. I didn't know the small, medium business network. I had to go out there and I had to meet people and really sort of like build an entire group around me. And to do that, I was going to bars, I was going here, I was going there. It just takes a lot of work and you just have to figure out whether it's worth it for you or not.
Yeah, and it seems like you built a great network for yourself.
Thank you. I did.
And how will you suggest someone to start doing that?
Believe it or not, I always say never eat alone. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, never eat alone. Always meet with somebody. Meet with somebody. In the beginning, I met with so many people. I just met someone for a business meeting right now this morning. And we were talking about networking and he's looking to go into a different field. And I said, you just got to go out there and network. I used to sit at a restaurant and I kid you not, Limor, it was so bad. I would sit there, I would order my coffee, my breakfast. One guy would come, we'd spend an hour and a half talking. He would leave. 20 minutes later, another guy would come. I swear this restaurant had no idea what business I was running and what I was doing, but all day long, I had 4 or 5 guys, 3 to 4 days a week, because they were all men in the fields I was looking for. All men were business owners. It was just mostly men. And I would sit at the same restaurant day in, day out for 3 to 4 days with guys coming, going. I didn't even move tables. I didn't do anything. But that's what I did. I used to go to all these. Here's what I say. For every 50 people you'll meet, 5 will be ones like you'll meet for lunch or something. Out of those 5, you'll meet one person that you like. Then you have to do another 50 to another 10 to another 5 to another 1, another 50 people. And that's how I grew my network. I currently am a member and on the board of Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global organization. It's an incredible organization of all business owners. And I've created our own networking group called Connect for Business Exchange, C4BX. And that group is very small. It's 12 to 15, extremely trusted, my inner circle of people, where if there's anything or anything, anything I need for anything, that's the group I call. So when my husband passed away, it was unexpected. He was 39 years old, had a heart attack, extremely fit, played soccer with the boys, all that stuff. I needed a tire change. I called the group. I needed my wills done and redone and my trusts and estates. I called the group. My accounting, I called the group. All I did was make phone calls. I didn't do anything. I just made phone calls to my trusted circle. And I would say to do that, go out there and meet people. You'll never know who you're going to meet or how incredibly important they'll become in your life unless you actually go out there and meet them and keep a relationship. I used to meet with people every month. We set up a reoccurring meeting every Tuesday, 12 o'clock you, every Tuesday, like 1:30 you. And that's what I did. And it took a lot of time, but I would say it was well worth it.
How did you get to these people in the first place? How did you find them?
Different networking organizations. You talk about every chamber meeting. I've been at every single chamber meeting. I went to chamber meetings all the way from the tippity tip down of New Jersey to the tippity tip up of New Jersey. Once you start going to these, people will tell you, oh my God, did you know that there was a networking event tomorrow at 4 for this group? No, I didn't. I'd love an invite. Great. Then I went to that one. Out of that one, so I'd be like, oh, there's this other group. They meet like once every 3 months and they meet over there in a little restaurant. Great. I'll come to that one. And I just went from group to group. I just kept meeting people and they introduced me to more groups and meeting people. And it's okay to let people go because you don't have all the time in the world. It's okay to let people go, right? So we let people go. We let things, as you start to meet people, you'll figure out what's important in your life and what's not so important in your life.
Yeah, that sounds like a full-time job. How do you do that when you're, say you're working full-time and you're trying to build your network?
That was my full-time job, Limor, was to build my network. My husband ran the company and my job was to do sales. I couldn't do sales without meeting people. That was my job. So that's what I did. Yes, I had 2 kids. Yeah, sacrifices come along, but I had an incredibly, incredibly supportive husband who was there for every game, every Taekwondo tournament. So if I missed it, I didn't feel as bad because my husband was there. I knew he was there. So now it's a different story. I'm a single mother. I have an incredible number of people that, incredible people that work for me. And I stop working at 4:00. My son has a game at 4:00 on Wednesday and I'll be there. I am extremely, it's a very different situation now, but I think if you have a very supportive spouse, it makes things a lot easier. I had it very easy when it came to that. My spouse was extremely supportive of my endeavors, of our company, of what I was doing for the company, of how I was bettering it. And he was a very secure and happy person to do what he was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very fortunate to have a supportive spouse as well. But not all women have that. I mean, and sometimes it's not for bad intentions. Sometimes it's like the spouse have their own, insecurities and all that. I mean, it's
100%, 100%. And what I would say to you is, we as women, as mothers, have to stop feeling guilty for everything. I will tell you, I am a single mom of 2 boys. They are 14 and 12. And they are better boys knowing and seeing how hard their mother has worked since their father has passed away. I could have quit. I could have just sat at home and done nothing. And instead, my 14-year-old just started a non-for-profit 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And my 12-year-old is one of the kindest human beings you will ever meet. And they both see how hard I work to put food on the table and to do the things that they want to do. They see my time is valuable. And because of that, their time is valuable. They don't sit in front of the computer all day playing games. They're like, well, we want to be soccer stars. We're going to go play soccer. They utilize their time. Are they great? No. Are they kids? Yes. Are they a pain in the butts? Absolutely. They're no angels. But do we fight? We argue. Oh my goodness. But I think they're better off to see their mother and how hard they work. So what I would tell the women that don't have supportive spouses, that do not find the time sometimes because they feel guilty, and it is okay to feel guilty. But if our cup isn't full, my kids' cups are definitely not going to be full.
That's for sure. I mean, we need to take care of, that's a lesson I learned firsthand, and we need to take care of ourselves first.
Yes.
Before others.
Yes. And it's hard. And, I actually talk about this. I talk about vulnerability and embracing vulnerability and making it your strength. It's my journey after my husband passed away and everything that fell out of it afterwards. And what I say to people is, everyone's like, I don't know how you did it, how you stabilized the business, how you grew the business, how you have 2 kids, how you ran the house. I actually have 5 companies, Limor, but I own 5 companies. And so how does it get all done? And I say, well, there are days that business was a priority. Priority doesn't mean a forever thing. We're not married to our priorities. Okay. So there are days where I would wake up and say, shoot, I'd use worse words than that, but we're on air, so I'm not sure. I would say, what am I going to do? Today, 3 clients, I got to figure this out. Work is my priority. There are other days I would get up and I say, you know what? My kids need me today. And my kids are 100% my priority. I wouldn't even look at a phone call. And there are days where I said, I'm my priority. And I would work on just me. I'd go to the spa. I would take time out with the friends. I'd go to a vineyard in the middle of the day. Yes, I did. I would go to a bar and sit there for hours and hang out with a friend just talking. And I think that is all okay. My priorities changed hour to hour, day to day, depending upon what was going on in my life. So sometimes people feel they've got to make these long-term decisions. Well, my priorities work and I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, which means I'm never going to see my kids for the next 4 years. That's not it. Little moments count. Little moments count. And so that could be our priority. When my husband and I would go to dinner with our kids, we both left our phones at home. That was priority for us, was to hang out with the boys. So it just, we made it a point to take 2 family trips a year. My husband and I made it a point to take 2 couple trips a year. So they're all different priorities for different times, and priorities shift. And we as women are really good at multitasking, but we need to make sure that we don't feel guilty all the time. Your priorities can shift. Make yourself a priority, make your kids a priority, make your work a priority. Yes, you can have it all if you shift priorities, not if you make everything, you only have 100%. You can't make everything a priority today. Everything can be at 100%.
Loved it. I loved it. Yeah, amen to that. And talk about, you mentioned you have 5 companies. So let's talk about your latest venture, CloudWerxe.
Yeah. So CloudWerxe, my husband and I started this idea quite some time ago, and it just never came to fruition. And then once TechWerxe was up and stabilized, we realized that being an all-in-one company made sense, utilizing clouds that are already out there. And for those of you that might not know, things like Azure or AWS, they're clouds that are already out there, the Google Cloud. We wanted to build a cloud that was more flexible for our clients, something where we don't have to worry about how much data you're saving. You're saving on it, how quickly it is, how fast you can download things or upload things, right? So we built our own cloud platform, and now our clients are on it, and we have other IT companies putting their clients on it because it is a more flexible and a more known priced platform than the ones that are out there. So it's great. I mean,
incredible.
It's, my objective is to make sure that I can live the life that I'm living by spending time with the kids. And by doing these things, it absolutely helps. And by hiring amazing people, it helps even more. I am the dumbest one in our company. So it's phenomenal. My guys are incredible. And I think that's really important. I think it's important to just surround yourself with just really wickedly smart people.
You are fearless, and you are, so inspiring, Sejal. How can you become fearless as you are? I mean, I'm hearing you like, you're not afraid of challenges. You're not afraid of hiring the smartest people, how do you do that? What's your secret?
I don't have a secret. I think it's just being around. Look, my dad's an entrepreneur. My mom and my dad, okay, in the Indian culture, okay, the first kid you want to have has to be a boy. It's got to be a boy because the boy's got to carry the name, okay? Having a girl is like a little bit substandard. And I think from day one, my parents never acted like that. My parents were always like, you can do that. There was never a time where I was doing something. They're like, really, you shouldn't do that. I was going to go into engineering. You're like, yep, go into engineering. Great. Go into this. Great. They were always just push in terms of you can do it. You can do more. When my husband passed away, were my parents there for me? Absolutely. Did they take over everything? Did they say, hey, sweetheart, quit your job and come live with mommy and daddy and we'll take care of everything? No, they didn't. Do they help me? Absolutely. If I needed something, 150%. But before my dad would help me, it would be why can't you do it on your own? What's preventing you? Is it really a problem, or are you being lazy? And if I'm being lazy, there was no help coming. And so, my father owns a very, very successful engineering company. And my entire plan at that point was to take over the engineering company, of course, right? Why not? You're in college. I'm like, I'm just going to take over my father's business, easy money. Life is great. My dad's caveat was I have to get all A's in the engineering subjects. Lemore, I can't pass earth science, let alone chemistry or some other freaking physics or something. So I didn't get all A's, but I said, whatever, it's my dad. He's going to let me go. I don't own that company. I don't own a share of that company. And he will sell that company. It's always been about hard work. It's always been about work ethics. And I think when you grow up that way, we were never wanting for anything. My father made a very good living, very, very good living. Some people say I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I did. But the minute I could work, it was all about me doing my own thing. And I married a guy that was like that. He started the company in the way that he wanted to push. All my friends are like that. They're constantly thinking about new adventures, new endeavors, new journeys, new ways to do things. And if I say I can't, then they will help me. And if I fail, they'll let me fall, but they'll pick me up and they'll keep pushing me. There's nobody in my life that has come back to me and said, that's a lie. There are people in my life that have come back to me and said, I can't believe you're really doing this and you really can't do it. Those people are no longer in my life. The ones that are in my life are the ones that are like, yeah, just keep kicking ass. And if you're going to F up, then that's okay. Let's F up and learn and move on.
Yeah. So one takeaway is surround yourself with people that can support you, lift you up, and be very kind of growth mindset kind of people, the right kind of people that will help you for sure. Any kind of last words, any tips you want to leave women by?
Never It keeps coming back to the same thing. Never think you can't do something. There's nothing that we can't do. As long as we figure out, I've found that the best way for me to do it is to write it all down and figure out my priorities and build a circle of trust. Build your inner circle, build your circle of trust. In the past, I've always come across women who are, very competitive with each other. Be the one who sticks up for the person not in the room. Be that woman. Because if you are that woman, it'll come back to you tenfold, right? Fix the crown on someone else's head. We need to, as women, start to support each other, start to really build each other up. Because when we do that, we are completely unstoppable. Unstoppable. I have the most incredible group of women that I am surrounded with. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if I need a financial lesson for my son to, dating advice, because by the way, dating at my age is not easy. It is something that they are just so supportive with. So be that woman that sticks up for the person not in the room. And if you do that, I promise you'll go really far.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sejal, for all the insights and tips. How can women find more about you?
You can go to TechWerxe.com, which is TechWerxe.com. My cell phone number's on there. My email's on there. And SejalLakhani.com is my personal website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sejal. It's been a pleasure.
It was absolutely my pleasure, Limor. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for putting this on and helping all the women that are out there.
Thank you for listening to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader. This is your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and I want to encourage you to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Limor Bergman, and let me know, what do you think about the episodes? Feel free also to comment on Apple Podcasts and tell me, what do you want me to talk about? Which guests do you want me to bring? I really appreciate that, and have a wonderful day.